Perhaps the most iconic Klingon starships in Star Trek were the Birds of Prey. These were agile attack craft that served as the backbone of the Klingon Imperial Fleet. One of the most well-known Klingon Birds of Prey was the Vo'N'Talk-class, which we've discussed in a video before, and you can find a link down below. But before the time of the Vo'N'Talk-class, the Klingons used another, similar Bird of Prey model, as seen in Star Trek Enterprise. This 22nd century Bird of Prey, which was known as the Vo'N'Talk-class in some extended media sources, was a formidable ship for its time, though refits to human starships like Enterprise soon left it somewhat outclassed. Today, we'll dive in and take a look at this 22nd century Bird of Prey. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host, Captain Jack, and let's get into the video. Of course, before we do warp into this video, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. Of course, you might know we're enjoying making these Star Trek videos, but we need your support to continue making them, especially in the day and age of copyright content and just YouTube and Paramount being difficult to work with. As such, we've recently launched our Patreon, and we invite you to check it out and hopefully consider supporting the development of these YouTube videos. Head over there via the link in the video description to get access to exclusive videos, including interviews with Star Trek legends, events such as book clubs, and much more. If you have any questions about the Patreon, comment down below in this video comment section. I'll personally answer them myself. Now, as always, do let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Oh, and while you're watching, comment on what you would name a Klingon Bird of Prey. Okay, qapla'. The Vo'N'Talk-class Bird of Prey was manufactured in the 2140s by engineers working for the House of Antak, one of the great houses of the Klingon Empire. The class was launched in 2149 and quickly became one of the most common ships in the Klingon Imperial Fleet, serving as both a scout and fast attack craft. The 22nd century Klingon Bird of Prey was 145.36 meters in length, and its design was very similar to the later Klingon Bird of Prey models. The ship consisted of a bulbous aft engineering section with prominent radiator grills and two large engine modules on its dorsal hull. A pair of downswept wings tipped with disruptor cannons and a teardrop-shaped forward section connected to the aft by a long neck. This class of Bird of Prey could reach up to warp 5, the top speed of the fastest contemporary human starships. The ship's reactor complex and warp engine sections were located towards the top of the dorsal hull, and they connected to warp coils built into the ship's wings rather than the conventional warp nacelles. The ship's warp drive operated according to the same principles as a human equivalent, despite the difference in how the warp coils were laid out. This Bird of Prey also featured two impulse engines, which were housed in prominent nacelles atop the dorsal hull. These impulse engines were powerful, making the Bird of Prey both fast and maneuverable at sublight speeds. It's unknown if this class of Bird of Prey was capable of planetary landings as later classes were, though it was aerodynamic enough that it was likely capable of atmospheric flight. Apart from the warp and impulse systems, the aft section of the Bird of Prey featured the ship's shuttle bay, which was accessed via hangar doors on the ventral tail end of the ship, as well as escape pod berths, which carried a number of one-person pods equipped with basic steering controls. At the time this starship was in use, the Klingons had yet to develop transporter technology, so this class of Bird of Prey also featured docking umbilicals for ship-to-ship transfers of cargo or personnel. At the bases of the wings, the ship featured prominent radiator grills, which dispersed excess heat from the ship's reactor systems. Most of the Bird of Prey's crew decks were located in the aft section. Spread across 4 decks, these sections included the crew quarters, main engineering, several laboratories, the galley, the mess hall, the targ pits for carrying live food, and more. Meanwhile, the forward section of the ship contained the Bird of Prey's bridge and command decks, which were connected to the rest of the ship by a broad corridor that ran through the starship's neck. Typically, this class of Bird of Prey was manned by a crew of 18 to 48, and its interior was similar in style to later Klingon starships. We mean this because the interior was cramped and could be uncomfortable, and it was strictly functional in design, with mechanical elements often exposed along the walls. The bridge was also similar in layout to later Klingon starships, with a view screen at the front end of the bridge, a central command chair for the captain, and up to a dozen other stations located in a ring around the captain's chair. Unlike the Birds of Prey commanded by later generations of Klingons, the 22nd century Bird of Prey did not have a cloaking device, but it did have tough armour and strong shields. Specifically, the Bird of Prey was equipped with dispersive armour, which, at least around the heavily armoured bridge module, was strong enough to absorb the weapons fire of a contemporary human starship. The shields of this class of bird-of-prey were stronger in the front than in the aft, reflecting the Klingon impulse to meet their enemies head-on in battle, which left the aft end vulnerable in certain combat situations. For a 22nd century starship, the Klingon Bird-of-Prey was heavily armed, with more disruptive mounts than later 23rd and 24th century birds of prey. But like with later birds of prey, the ship's main disruptor cannons were mounted on the wingtips, but it also featured two similarly powerful disruptor cannons mounted in a turret on the underside of a starship. This ventral turret had a wide firing arc, and was further supported by two additional dual-mounted disruptor turrets on either side of the ship's head. These four disruptors were smaller and had a smaller firing arc, but they still added yet more firepower to an already well-armed starship. On top of these disruptors, the Bird-of-Prey boasted a pair of tractor beam projectors mounted to the underside of the ship's wings, which could snare smaller craft and drag them towards the ship's ventral docking port. It also featured two photon torpedo launchers, one mounted forward at the bow of the ship and one mounted aft. All 8 of the Bird-of-Prey's disruptors, as well as one of its torpedo launchers, had forward firing arcs, further encouraging Klingon captains to attack their enemies head-on. A frontal assault from a Bird-of-Prey was devastating, but a maneuverable enemy that could get behind one of them found it much less heavily armed on the aft end. A ship attacking the Bird-of-Prey from a right angle would be able to avoid all of the starship's disruptors, and this, then coupled with the fact that Bird-of-Prey's aft end had weaker shields than the forward end, could leave the Bird-of-Prey extremely vulnerable. Additionally, for all of the strengths of its defenses, this model of Bird-of-Prey had a serious design flaw. A direct hit right in the front of a warp reactor module would strike the ship's plasma junction, causing a chain reaction that would disable the vessel's power grid. The 22nd century Klingon Bird-of-Prey played a similar role in the Klingon fleet as later Bird-of-Prey models, but with key differences stemming from its lack of a cloaking device. These birds of prey mainly saw use as scouts or as escorts for larger cruisers, and they were also deployed either alone or in small squadrons as fast attacking raiders. They were designed for speed, maneuverability, and firepower, meant to attack enemy craft head-on without warning. Their agility and small target profile made them difficult to hit, and their extensive weaponry allowed them to overwhelm larger starships. All told, they were versatile and reliable, able to be deployed for a variety of combat situations. The first Klingon bird-of-prey encountered by humanity was commanded by Duras, son of Taral, who ambushed the Enterprise NX-01 on the edge of a Sol system in order to capture Captain Archer. Duras' bird-of-prey proved to be more than a match for the Enterprise in a straight fight, but when other Earth Starfleet ships came to Enterprise's aid, Duras was forced to withdraw, as his lone ship couldn't stand up to multiple Starfleet vessels at once. 7 months later, Duras ambushed the Enterprise again, only to learn the hard way that it had been upgraded with stronger hull plating and photonic torpedoes, allowing it to match Duras' bird-of-prey in battle. Duras was forced to withdraw again, but he soon recruited 2 other birds of prey to provide support, and a small squadron attacked Enterprise a final time on the edge of a Delphic expanse. The 3 ships attacking together forced Enterprise to flee into a nearby region of thermobaric clouds. Duras and his bird of prey pursued, but his escorts didn't, and Duras' lone bird of prey was outmaneuvered by Enterprise within the nebula. Duras had ordered his crew to increase power to the forward shields, leaving a bird of prey's aft end undefended. Between this and the vessel's lack of aft end firepower, Enterprise was able to easily destroy the Klingon warship after getting behind it. Later, in 2154, another bird of prey was commandeered by a group of human augments, who spaced the ship's original Klingon crew. Originally, the augment's captain was Rakin, but he was overthrown by another augment named Malik, who commanded the bird of prey in a mission to rescue Arak Sum, the augment's father, from Enterprise. Malik's bird of prey easily destroyed an Orion interceptor attacking the Enterprise, and successfully rescued Sum, but the Enterprise gave chase. The augment's bird of prey was destroyed by Enterprise in a later battle. This version of a bird of prey was designed by John Eves for Star Trek Enterprise's 2nd season finale. Originally, when asked to design a new bird of prey for the show, Eves submitted a bird of prey variant that he had designed for Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but was ultimately never used. This featured sharper edges, more skeletal wings, and additional disruptor cannons. This was originally meant to be a heavier bird of prey that the Klingons would have deployed in the Klingon-Cardassian War and the first battle of Deep Space Nine. Eves did figure that the cut design could be repurposed as a 22nd century bird of prey. However, the producers of Enterprise disagreed, and Eves was sent back to the drawing board. He based his new design on the classic bird of prey originally designed for the films, which he attempted to make more primitive looking, adding the dorsal engine nacelles, block A heat exchangers, more external framework, and external cabling in order to make the ship look more experimental and dangerous to operate. Many design elements were borrowed from other Klingon ships designed for Enterprise, including a cut Klingon battlecruiser. Johnny's did incorporate one element from his cut Deep Space Nine Bird-of-Prey into the Enterprise version, this being increased firepower. Eve's armor shipped to the teeth, incorporating new turrets and a belly gun inspired by those on World War II era aircraft. Once the design work was finished, the new Klingon Bird-of-Prey was built as a CGI model by Koji Kumamara. It ultimately appeared in 5 episodes of Enterprise, most of them in Season 4. So that's our look at the 22nd century Klingon Bird-of-Prey. Now, did you comment down below what you named your Klingon Bird-of-Prey? Seriously, get commenting, as I want to know. Now, as mentioned, you can support the development of Trek Central's videos. Please join our Patreon via the link below. You'll get exclusive access to videos and events, as well as more Galaxy-class rewards. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.